All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel and back to what has become my personal waking nightmare, trying to figure out how to get these solar panels to work. Now, where we left off in the last video was that we had come to the conclusion that the panels weren't working simply because they weren't getting enough light. Makes sense? And to fix this, our plan is to lengthen the rails so that the panels will be further away from the deck and hopefully out from under the deck shadow. So without further ado, let's check back in, see how it's going. Well, here we are a few days later. I have remounted the panels on longer supports. So I had them on 4-foot angle iron, now it's 6-foot angle iron. So the panels are further back away from my deck. Hopefully they're less in the shade, hopefully they're getting more sun, and I expect to get a much better current output reading. So let's take a look. All right, so here are the panels again. You can see that there's still some shading due to the deck, which is a little disappointing, but they're getting a lot of sun right now. It's the middle of the afternoon. Let's go ahead and look at the charge controller. So based on my last readings, I expect the charge controller to be at least a couple amps, where before it was at most 1 amp, and most of the time it was 0.5, 0.6 amps for both panels. So let's take a look. All right, so let's check the reading. Moment of truth, hoping that it's good. Half an amp. Well, that's disappointing.
Son of a bitch! You done messed up!
All right, so this is a good news, bad news type situation that we got here. So I'm now even more confident than before that the solar panels themselves are the problem. So that's good. I've localized the problem. Unfortunately, my first shot to fix it didn't work. So I figured what I would do then is reach out to the manufacturer of the solar panels and see if they had any advice. Maybe I'm doing something very simple wrong. So let me show you how that went. By the way, these are the solar panels that I'm using. I got them from Amazon from this manufacturer, ACOPOWER. Let's go with ACOPOWER. 100 watt, 12 volts for your car, RV, boat, camping, off-grid applications. This little tidbit down here is pretty interesting. Bypass diodes allow the solar panel to continue working during accidental shading by bypassing the underperforming cells. That little tidbit's going to be important in a minute here. The rest of the page here, just showing how awesome they are. Waterproof, high light transmittance, weather resistance. Look at all these ways that you can mount the panels. Oh, you can go anywhere. Marine, rooftop, RV. I don't know, they look pretty good to me. Here's my email exchange with the support team here. So just to summarize, I say, hey, here are the panels that I have, here's the model. And I noted that I'm getting 0.6 amps, which is 7.2 watts out of a 200 watt setup. So that is 3.6% of the rated output. And I say, hey, I understand that my panels maybe are not in the perfect conditions. They're blocked a little bit by this railing that I have. But I did take the readings on a sunny day, and I used this lux meter to show that they were getting about 60,000 lux directly over the panel, which again shows that it's getting a lot of sunlight. And so I just asked, hey, is there something I'm doing wrong here? And then I sent them pictures of the model and of the solar panels with the blocked out portions here. What was their response? I asked our designers, your panels cannot be blocked. Even a leaf will have a great impact on the power of the solar panels. Even a leaf, you say.
You serious?
And so you could say that I'm a little bit frustrated with this situation. Was hoping for a better answer. Perhaps if I had known that a sliver of shade from the wings of a passing seagull over my roof would render my solar panels completely inoperable, maybe I would have gone with a different panel. I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out, but maybe not a shout out, because a shout out is for like when you're doing something good, right? So like, what do you call it if you want to give a shout out but for something negative, sort of like the opposite of a shout out? Maybe some like an insult or shame out. Let's go with shame. I want big shame out to ACOPOWER right now. Sending this one straight to you, ACOPOWER. I got a question. Maybe you can help me out with this right now. How are you going to sell an energy generating device whose fuel, the sun in this case, its main characteristic is that it's intermittent? Clouds exist, tall buildings exist, trees exist, leaves exist. Surprising, I know. And apparently your second-rate, probably made in some overseas sweatshop, designed by Elon Musk's mentally impaired cousin, implode at the slightest hint of adversity, holding like a cheap suit, garbage tier panels, can't handle even the smallest bit of suboptimal conditions. Are you kidding me? You know what? You're gross. You disgust me, ACOPOWER.
You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
But you know what? In the end, I just want you to know, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
A few moments later.
All right, well, first of all, I would like to apologize to ACOPOWER. I did some research and it turns out that for complicated reasons, using words like bypass diodes, that this whole issue of solar panels not working, or at least not working very well when portions of that panel are shaded, is kind of a common problem and maybe even a typical trait of a lot of panels. Let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So there's this site, renewablewise.com, and the title is "Do Solar Panels Work in the Shade?" So it's a long article, it's very in-depth, but here's the important part. Solar panel shading effects. When a solar panel is only partially shaded, the amount of power it produces does not only depend on how much of the solar panel is shaded, but also on which cells are shaded and the number of bypass diodes it has. And then it goes on to show that many of these solar panels are constructed with this string concept. So basically all of these individual cells are connected in series in a string. And so if only one of them is not working, then none of them work. I think it says that here. Basically, the current produced by the string will not exceed the current produced by the shaded cell. Let's look at this picture. So look, on my panel here, let's say that these strings are here vertically like columns. Basically, the worst case scenario is what I have here, is that this bar of shadow is basically destroying the output of all of the strings, and therefore of the entire panel. So, I had thought previously that, hey, most of the panel is uncovered, so yeah, I'll see some drop in current, but it'll still work. Turns out, not the case. Because of the way that the panels are constructed, something like this is gonna make your whole panel not work. So I learned something new today. Now, I will maintain that it would have been super cool if somewhere on the web page there was some sort of warning like, hey, if you block even a small part of this panel the wrong way, it's going to make the whole operation go belly up. That would have been really cool and maybe would have saved me a lot of time. Nevertheless, ACOPOWER, I'm going to be the bigger man here and say that I am sorry. I'm sorry that I was short with you. I'm sorry that I called your panels garbage tier and that I implied that they were designed by Elon Musk's mentally challenged younger cousin. And I just hope that you can accept this apology and we can move on from this. So now where do we go from here? I've got a couple ideas. It's pretty clear that I need to avoid that horizontal shadow from the railing. So one thing that I can do, I basically have to find a way to get either above the railing, so build some sort of a platform to raise the panels up so that shadow won't be across the panel, or I could move it somewhere else in the yard. And just so that's clear, obviously I could mount these on the roof or something like that. That would be the best spot, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to, put holes in my new roof just to mount a few panels. The whole purpose of doing this is to experiment and to learn, and I'm doing that. Hopefully you guys watching are learning some stuff too through my terrible, awful, time-consuming mistakes. So either I could raise the panels up, I could put them maybe somewhere else in the yard, but there's not really a good spot. I think I'm going to try to raise them. I'm going to try to build a platform, and let's see how that goes. So in the interest of transparency and documenting this odyssey we're going on here, my first idea was to build a PVC structure that I could put on the rails and then mount the panels on top of that. And I thought it'd be a good idea because it'd be easy to construct and be lightweight and be strong enough. And so I was just gonna put it straight on top of there. I already took one of the panels off and bring it up to, somewhere up here, a few feet off the ground above the rail. And so I started to do that, and I bought all the pieces and I started to assemble it, and realized it was kind of a stupid idea. It's going to be a pain to put it all together and then to attach it because it's tubular. And so to attach the round PVC to the flat base of the panel, or the panel mount, I realized that was kind of a stupid idea, and this has all been a huge waste of time, and I immediately regret it. And so instead, I'm just gonna go ahead and use some lumber. I'm gonna use some 2x2 posts and some plywood, paint that, and that should be a much easier surface to work with. It should still be light enough. The angle iron is real strong, so it should be able to hold it, and I'm gonna try that next. And by the way, it's not even as if I had all this spare PVC laying around just collecting dust. I thought, oh, why don't I just use this for my project? Like, no, I had to go buy it from Home Depot, get all the fittings, do all the measuring, do all the cutting. It was just, in hindsight, really questionable decision making. And well, that's why we play the game, baby. So if anybody needs 40 foot of PVC cut into randomly sized chunks like 26 and 7/8 pieces, let your boy know. Okay, I'm feeling much better about this idea. I think this is going to be a lot easier. So here's the lumber behind me. Let's see if we can transform it into something a little bit better. And here we are. This box just dropped in. So it's all completed now. We're going to paint it. Then we're going to take it outside, put it on the rail, see how it does. All right, so now we've got the stand all painted here. It's about 38 inches or so. Hopefully that's going to be enough to get us over the railing. Got pressure treated plywood here, have some pressure treated rails here. I think they're really for banisters, but seems to work. So now we're going to put them on the angle iron here and see if that gets our panels above the line of the deck. All right, so let's see where we're at. We've built the two platforms. They're on the rails. They're about 38 inches high, so they're close to, they're still a little bit below, but they're close to the height of the deck now. When I put the panels on top of them, which is my next move, hopefully it's going to get them up to about the height of the panel, and that combined with the little bit of offset away should be enough, I'm hoping, to remove that band of shadow. So let's see how it goes. All right, and here are the panels mounted on the stands. Cautious optimism. It looks like the railing is no longer blocking a significant portion of the panels. It's overcast at this moment in time, but you can still see that there's no band of shadow across these, so fingers crossed that this solved the issue. Now I just need to finish up with the mounting, basically adding a few more bolts and tie downs to make sure that this thing is steady in the wind and the snow, which we get here where I live. It's a little bit more unsteady now that these panels are mounted so high off the ground, so I'm going to make sure they're safe. And then of course I have to reconnect everything electrically and run the test again to make sure that things are working as they should. I will say, as far as the mounts, that they're not quite as precise as I normally like my work to be. They're not quite as level or as flush as I normally do work, but I'm kind of just ready for this project to be over. And if things don't work out, you can catch my next video where I will be on some boat in the middle of the ocean throwing these panels into the deepest part of the Mariana Trench.
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
Here we are for hopefully the final time. It's a really nice, beautiful, sunny day. I have everything hooked back up again, and if I'm right about the shading issue, this should have solved it. Let's find out. So let's make a prediction, just very back of the napkin type math here. Remember that the solar panels were tested under conditions of about 125,000 lux, and under those conditions, those perfect ideal conditions, the output was supposed to be about 8 amps, 8.3 amps. So that translates into 100 watts at 12 volts. So if we're getting right now, let's call it 87,500 lux, that's about 70% of those optimal conditions. So we would expect about 70% of the power, 70% of the current. So let's call it 8 amps, and then 70% of that is about 5.5 amps. I've got 2 panels, so under ideal conditions, I would anticipate about 11 amps from the 2 panels. Figure knock an amp or 2 off of that for losses and non-ideal conditions, stuff like that. So anything around 10 amps would be amazing. I'd be happy with 7 or 8 amps even total. So that's what we're shooting for. Let's take a look. All right, moment of truth. Let's take a look at this charge controller. Fingers crossed. Oh, thank God. 10.3 amps. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about!
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh? 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 I have exorcised the demons. This house is clear.
Finally, we've cracked this riddle, and just in time to save my sanity. They said it couldn't be done, but we did it. My primary takeaway from this whole experience is that the solar panels are super finicky, and you would expect that the output of these panels would be proportional to the amount of incident sunlight upon them. Turns out that's not true. It turns out that the shading, the type and location of the shading matters quite a bit, and a horizontal band across the panel at any location, top or bottom of the panel, is apparently the worst case scenario. Glad we found that out. Now, I did do some research on this, and apparently there's such a thing called half-cut panels. And it's like it sounds, the top and the bottom of the panels are electrically separated from each other. And what that means is that if, for example, the bottom half of your panels are all screwed up due to some shadow or whatever, that the top half will not be affected and still work. Of course, you'll have less overall power output, but better than nothing. It's better than a small shadow on the bottom of your panels completely screwing up the entire output of the panel. And it seems like these panels are approximately the same cost as the normal panels, so to me that's a no-brainer. And if I ever buy any panels in the future, they'll be these half-cut ones. Now, with that being said, I think that we've done our job for this video, and learning a few things about solar panels is our improvement for the day. So as always, thanks so much for watching. If you like the content, Please like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.